Welcome, everyone, to the Gamer Like Dad podcast, episode 11.
Episode 11.
Episode 11. It's been a hot minute once again.
It has. It's been kind of a rough month for everybody.
Maybe we should stop mentioning that it's like, oh, it's been a hot minute, but we're going to get better. Maybe we should just stop saying that.
I think that's probably a good idea.
And then maybe we'll actually be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a very special episode. As you guys can tell, we're a little more up close and personal to the camera. Hello.
And it's just the two of us.
Just the two. Okay, we don't want to get flagged for the song, but
no.
Yeah, Bentley is at school and we're doing this during the day. But this podcast is going to be a little more, like I said, special. Yep. We're going to not talk so much about video games. Maybe there might be some little jokes here and there and some comments about gaming. But yeah, this is a very serious conversation. And one of the main reasons why you guys haven't seen as much content from the podcast, and really, you know, sometimes both of us in general, and
right.
you'll explain that too, Dad.
Yeah.
You want to kind of lead us in as to what we're talking about?
Yeah, one of the things, if you've been a subscriber to my channel for any period of time, that's Elder Geek Gamer, which I also, Chris has his channel, Gamer Like Dad. Excuse my voice today. It's a little bit rough, and it's part of what we're talking to you about today.
Yep. If
you've watched my channel over the last few years, you notice I make less and less content by myself. I used to be able to do unboxings, all kinds of different videos by myself, shoot it, edit it, do all those type of things.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I think the majority of the people who subscribe to this channel, you may know that I have Parkinson's disease and that I was diagnosed with that back in 2017, the highlight of my business.
Yeah.
And I noticed that one day I was shaking a lot. I didn't really notice it, but my wife noticed it. And
it wasn't just stress of the business.
It wasn't just stress of the business. It was just something kind of odd. And since 2017, when I was diagnosed, until 2023 today, it's gotten progressively worse. Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disease. That means it continually hits and lowers the ability of your system that creates dopamine. And if you've heard about dopamine, it's a feel-good chemical.
Sure. Yeah, it's our feel-good drug.
Yeah, you do something and you get a rush of dopamine.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, my body doesn't create the dopamine that it needs. There's some pills I can take, which I've taken for a while, which helped out, but those no longer work like they used to. It used to be an inconvenience. Now it's becoming to be a problem.
Yeah.
So I asked Chris typically, like today we got a couple unboxings to do, and I asked him to help me, because I really don't want to do an unboxing where I'm trying to hold on to something and share this with you. And I know you guys don't care, but I do.
Yeah.
And
it's easy to be, we're always our harshest critic, right?
Yeah.
And then when you struggle with something like Parkinson's or any other disease or anything that, you know, kind of limits your ability to do certain things physically, mentally, whatever it is, you become self-aware, you know, hyper-aware.
You really do. For example, I just noticed that I could see my arms shaking in the video.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I put my hands in between my legs and kind of stabilize things. I find myself more and more when I go out to eat that I'm sitting on my hands, because it's just kind of embarrassing to me to sit there and shake.
And those little things add up and become exhausting after a while.
They become exhausting. They become very stressful. I mean, you really don't realize how exhausting it can be to have a muscle that contracts all day long and you can't control it. And so by the end of the day, you're wiped out because just your arm is continually tremoring.
Yeah. And that's something you told me I didn't realize. You know, you think, okay, well, this person has, you know, one of the symptoms of Parkinson's being, you know, the shakes, and there's different forms of that. We'll get into that too. But, you know, you don't think that it exhausts the person. You think that it just is happening. Like it's almost like like that we breathe, you know, that it just is one of those things we don't have to think about. But you don't realize that because it's always tensing your muscle and relaxing, tensing, relaxing, it's like you're exercising all day long.
Well, it's funny because that you bring up, it's one of those things you don't think about.
Yeah.
It really impacts the autonomic nervous system. In other words, all the things that you can do that you don't have to think about, like breathing, like swallowing. All those things are compromised by Parkinson's disease. Yeah.
Is there anything that we've missed in the what is? Like, is there anything else that affects? There's some other things that affects, right?
It affects
symptom-wise.
The motor symptoms, which is what most people think of when they think of Parkinson's disease. For example, today I'm having problems talking. I'm stuttering a fair amount, and that's gotten worse over the years. If you notice Michael J. Fox, for example, how he's changed over the years.
Right. Who's he's advocate, like he's he's kind of the one who
And you notice his
the
motor,
face of
the face of Parkinson's.
Parkinson's, yeah.
And you notice his motor symptoms and the problems he has with dyskinesias, which cause the body to kind of.
He has full body motion.
He has full body
like
motion.
rolls and
that is a direct result of taking the medication that helps us so much. In fact, if you watch a movie that he just made about his journey with Parkinson's disease, it's called Still. It's on Apple TV. He'll tell you about that. And
is that a recommendation to watch? I'm assuming it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a recommendation.
It's called
to watch.
Still on Apple TV.
On Apple TV.
Okay.
And it's funny because one of the ways he first noticed it was his little pinky started tremoring, and he couldn't figure out what that was.
Well, didn't you say that's what you had happen?
Exactly. In fact, I got pictures of me driving to work, and my little pinky is just going like crazy. But it's progressed from my little pinky doing this to having problems sleeping at night.
Right.
To being depressed. It causes apathy, which means, the things that you love to do and want to do, you're not motivated to do them, like create content for this channel and get things done. So,
which sounds like a form of depression and anxiety, like, where you just don't want to do anything.
It goes hand in hand with this. So most people who have Parkinson's disease have depression and have anxiety. Now, there are lots of people with diseases and problems that are much worse than what I have. So I don't want to diminish their struggles.
Right.
But I do want to recognize and let you know why I create so much less content, why I'm relying on Chris so much more to help me create this content, and then what I'm doing on my own to make things better going forward so I can have the however many years I got left in my life. I turned 70 in January, so I can enjoy that to the maximum. So
guys, the reason, speaking to you guys, that, we made this podcast is because I wanted to capture all of the experiences that I've had with Dad and my kids, in gaming. I've had some of the best experiences I've ever had in my life gaming, period.
Had a lot of fun.
Sometimes with video games, they get a little bit of a bad rap, but there's also a wonderful side to it that brings a community of people together that are supportive. You make wonderful friends, whether it's online or even in person. And eventually even online friendships become, you meet people, and it's an amazing community. And so this is why I wanted to capture this. And this is why the podcast started, not to be rich making a podcast, but hopefully just recording down these experiences. And this is an important subject. And I'd love for us to do more with Parkinson's down the road. Cause I'm sure there are other gamers that have, those, that struggle with this as well. Obviously people that have all kinds of passions, but in our specific category of gaming, right, they have those similar struggles. So, and
it gets bad. It's difficult for me to play games. A simple game with a single button is one thing, but a complex game. I've got my Destiny shirt on today.
Oh yeah, repping the shirt.
But you've got triggers and bumpers and all these complex things that you have to do that were not a problem 3 years ago. That now that I've lost this muscle control, I'll accidentally throw a grenade. And I don't mean to throw a grenade at you, but it just happens. I honestly don't mean to do it, but the muscle I can't control it that fine.
It's too bad we can't go. We went from this, which was this is the Commodore 64 controller, the 2 buttons, right? And now we have super complex controllers.
Yeah, and it's not getting any better.
Like this one, it doesn't have the paddles, but no, that's a major problem. And that kind of brings me into another subject of, we talked about like, what is it? When you started, it was 2017, right?
However, I know that I had it for years before that.
You had those small things.
You can look back and see the things that you were doing and people were commenting on and realize, what? That was Parkinson's. And there's 2 things, is that the majority of people have had it for years before they're actually diagnosed. And then by the time that you're diagnosed, you've lost 80% of your dopamine producing cells.
That is a huge, that's unbelievable.
So by the time they say, hey, you got this problem, all the stuff that you want to fix is gone.
So this might help people out there that aren't aware, and maybe they might have a symptom, to maybe look at it further. Cause I was saying, well, how do you differentiate, like you said, you weren't sure of the signs, earlier on before 2017. And it's like, I was talking to Dad about, what if you mistake it for just, well, I'm low blood sugar, I'm just a little shaky.
Well, while there is no cure for it, everybody should be getting an annual physical no matter what.
Yeah.
But there's a point where you're going to have certain things that are happening in your body, both your motor and non-motor symptoms, where your doctor's going to say, I probably need to refer you to a neurologist, somebody who specializes in these type of things. And that's what made the difference for me was I found somebody who took me under their wing. I couldn't find a neurologist. It was going to be a year before I could get in and see them. And this person made some calls for me, and I was in to see a neurologist within 3 months of talking to her. What an angel.
In Kung Fu Panda, Master Shifu says there are no accidents, right?
Right.
So it happened for a reason, but you got in sooner, which was amazing.
So my focus going forward will be the Gamer Like Dad podcast, being part of that, because I can sit in this chair and I can talk.
Yeah.
And if I start to get too wiggly, I can sit on my hands.
Yeah. But people know why you're wiggly, not just because you're hyperactive.
Although I could
well,
be.
he's a little hyperactive.
Yeah. But there's one big thing that I decided this year that I could do to make a big difference in this, and it's something called DBS, or deep brain stimulation.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, what's your course of action?
Well, if you look at the thumbnail for this video, it says one of us just had the brain surgery. Guess which one?
And I've made the joke that some of you may think I need it, which is maybe true. I don't know, but it's not me.
It's me. And about 2.5 weeks ago, I went in and I've had one brain surgery,
right?
Where they actually drill 2 holes in your head. Doesn't that sound like fun? And they place a thing about this long. It's a sensor that emits electrical pulses.
For all those who are queasy, at home, just
no, I'm not going to pull this.
He's not going to. No, he's not going to show any of his surgery, but like just the discussion itself might be a little sensitive. So
it might be, but it's important that you know about this.
Yeah,
they've been doing DBS, deep brain stimulation, in some form or another for 30 years. We've got a solid 15 to 20 years of experience with DBS, and you can imagine putting 2 holes in your head. The brain doesn't feel pain, so they can do things in there, and you're not going to feel it anyway. So they could take a melon baller and pull out some of your brains. You probably wouldn't feel
goodness.
it.
That's an interesting image.
But what they used to do, you had to stay awake during the procedure.
Oh,
can you imagine that, staying awake during the procedure of them drilling in your head? Just the sound of it alone would drive you crazy. And one of the big improvements,
and especially if the doctor goes, "Ooh," or "Oops."
Dang, I didn't mean to do that. Anyway, so a couple of weeks ago, I had that first part of the surgery done, and they knocked my butt out.
Sure.
And
give me as many drugs as possible.
Yeah. And today, they have a much better method of finding out to make sure they get the lead to the place where it really belongs. It has to be within this really fine degree of tolerance.
Certain zone.
A certain zone. And if you looked at that little straw, it's not as thick as a straw, but if you look at that, there's these little circles on it, little bands. And those bands, what they do is they put out electrical pulses. And today, because of the advances in technology, those electrical pulses can be shaped like an oval. They can be shaped like a circle. They can be shaped
that's cool,
like a pear. And
I think of fireworks now that you're saying that, and they go off in the air and they create a shape in the air.
Exactly.
That's always impressive.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And so what this does is there's one for the left side of my brain, which controls my right side, and the right side of my brain, which controls my left side. What they do is they go in and they will actually, over a period of 6 weeks to 6 months, modify the pulses that are going into your brain through those little stimulation leads they put in there until your tremors disappear. And you can look at people online who've the before and afters, and it's just amazing. I mean, these tremors can just go away.
Yeah.
And so the good news is I've had that portion of the brain surgery done. There's wires now that run around my neck, run down to here. And then there's a box right here.
I'm like looking at your neck, seeing if I can see them.
Well, actually, you can if you look closely.
But,
there's a battery pack here. So think about a pacemaker for the heart. This is a pacemaker for the brain. So now we have this pacemaker for the brain. And what it does is it smooths out and corrects those bad signals that are being produced because of my lack of dopamine.
Okay.
So DBS goes in and corrects that. And they fine tune it until such a way that they get it under control.
Yeah.
There's 2 types of tremor. There's
this is interesting. And for those maybe who are just listening, you can go to our video section of the podcast on YouTube, but he's going to show maybe a little demonstration.
Yeah, there's resting tremor,
okay,
which means I'm sitting here doing nothing and my hand is tremoring. My left hand has the resting tremor. My right hand, solid, right?
Right.
No, because it's got active tremor. So as soon as I pick something up, it starts to tremor.
So resting tremor is when it shakes on its own without
no action.
moving a muscle. Right. Whereas if you pick up a bottle, then you start shaking.
Right. So I've got both on different sides.
That's interesting that one side is one and one side is the
other.
other.
It is interesting, but they can address and treat each one
so those pulses
differently. Yes.
that get sent out can do different things.
You know, side effects, they can overstimulate. They can
what
do
are the side
things
effects?
like that. But if you've got a good competent doctor and neurological team, they'll take care of you.
And they've done enough testing before this to have already dialed you in to know what they're going to, they're going to, right. And so when they hook you up, so to speak, right, turn it on and get things working, it's already kind of programmed to what your body needs.
To the area of the brain that they want to be doing this with. For example, some people want to get their gait, their walking corrected.
Right.
Which is a little bit different place.
Because did you talk about that symptom, that the walking gets small, like to the point where people are shuffling?
Where they're shuffling?
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Right.
Mine is primarily tremor dominant. So the main thing that I have that's going on is tremor. Bottom line is, guys and gals and everybody else
out there
watching this, it's to the point where it's not just an inconvenience, it's really hurting my quality of life. And I miss gaming. I miss playing guitar. I miss being able to sing. I miss having my voice taken away from me.
Right.
So there's all these things that DBS can help address. The thing that happens next week on Wednesday is I go in, I get my first programming session. So they're I'm wired up, and they're gonna.
I'm thinking of you as like Iron Man, or something, where you're sitting down, they're gonna run some diagnostics.
Because I just watched the Avengers, the final one. Yeah. Where Tony Stark pulls the thing out of him and just kind of falls on the floor.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not Tony Stark. But
you can pretend to be. Oh, you're the billionaire playboy. I know you are.
Yeah. So
on the side effects, we were kind of at the side effect side, but they can underperform it, but luckily you can go in and they can dial you in more.
Anything that they do with this surgery, they can undo.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you can turn it off.
Oh, nice.
So I'm giving a remote control. I'm not going to give the remote control to my wife.
Right. Yeah, don't give it to anybody that maybe has a vendetta against you.
Right, exactly. Over the shortest time possible, reduce my tremors by maybe 80 or 90% if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes. And I'll report back to you all and let you know exactly how it's going. I'll still continue, I think, to focus for a while doing the Gamer Like Dad podcast because I really enjoyed those.
It's fun just to get together and talk.
Yeah, doing those with Chris and Bentley, and we have a great time.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, I'll actually start doing some of my own unboxings and those type of things.
That'll be awesome.
I don't want to be sitting on my hands. I don't want to feel bad about having Parkinson's because I shouldn't.
If you go to Elder Geek Gamer on YouTube, he has a room tour, and you've been working on the second room tour, which is a big project for forever. But because his room has changed a lot. But I was telling him that he should do a shorts content on his side of the channel where he can just run a short on every little thing that's in his room. And there's just so much content there, but that takes a lot of work to set up, and shoot little things. And
it's just been so hard to get that video done.
Yeah.
From a motivation standpoint, from an energy standpoint.
We were talking about apathy, right? And then
from an energy standpoint.
Energy, yeah.
From the ability to hold a camera still. And I've gone through 3 or 4 gimbals trying to find one that will do what I need.
Right.
And the problem is I'm right-handed. What type of tremor is this?
Yeah.
This is an active tremor. So as soon as I pick that stupid thing up, it's fighting against me.
So basically you have to become left-handed.
No.
This isn't like a what is it? Not Father of the Bride. Princess Bride.
A Princess Bride,
something you ought to know. I am not left-handed either. I made a joke to Dad that Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo, you guys out there, in the ways of accessibility, I think they should make a controller that the doctors can hook up, and you can adjust your settings.
You never know
of your electrical currents in your body with an Xbox or a PlayStation or Switch
They could
controller.
At least help us design the next controller that. I got to be honest with you, the Xbox.
Talking about accessibility,
the Pro controllers.
Yeah,
I'm able to do things. For example, one of the bumper or the trigger, I can say when does that action of pulling that trigger in actually start.
Right,
and I can start it later in the pull.
There's 3 settings, right?
Well, there's one with 3 settings, but you can also do an infinite setting.
Oh, okay.
So you can say as soon as pulling this trigger back to here, then it starts to click in, which helps compensate for the fact that some of my fingers are throwing in a grenade when they're not supposed to throw a grenade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I've been hit by his grenades many times. No, I'm sure they have people developing for people in different areas, with different physical, limitations, challenges. And I wonder if Parkinson's is in their radar, as far as how do you,
It would be nice if it was. I'd like to find that out.
because they have the accessibility controller.
Yeah, but I've looked at that. I wouldn't even know how I'd begin to use that or
Right.
utilize it. So
Right.
you want to have usage case scenarios.
Right.
You want to find
That's a little too far removed from a typical controller.
Yeah, but they built a tool. Okay, now how do I deploy that tool in a way that's going to make it easy for me? And how important is video gaming in the world of things that's in our lives? It's not that important.
Well, let me back him up on that. You guys are listening to a gaming channel. Like, if anybody comes on here and is listening, is like, yeah, video games aren't that important. Well, I'm not down talking you, but this is his passion. So think about it in your world. Whatever passion you have, and you have something that limits you from doing that passion, it's important. And so in our realm, gaming was important.
You want to hear something else that bites? I always sit on the right-hand side of the love seat with my wife, who's on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
When I go to hold hands with her.
Oh, of course.
It's like holding hands with a fish. So,
it's not wet though, right?
No, unless I lick it first. But, my wonderful wife, Susan, and all my family and people that have just been very supportive of me to help me through this, to get me to this point where I'm finally getting the surgery that I need. And it's going to be very interesting to see what we're able to do with this. If you know of somebody who has Parkinson's disease, please share this with them. One thing we didn't talk about is there's another thing that anybody can do to improve their life with Parkinson's disease, and that is high intensity exercise.
Okay.
This is one of the few known things that will slow down the progression.
Like HIIT training.
Yeah, like HIIT training. It'll slow down the progression of Parkinson's disease. So
what do you do?
I do heavy bag boxing.
And you have a group that you're part of, right?
I
talk about that a little bit.
Rock steady boxing here.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really important to do that. It's really like it is the same as taking your medicine. You need to take your medicines, and you also need to work out. And you need to make it high intensity workouts.
It's almost like they've told us that exercise is good for our body, no matter what stage or what situation we're in. So,
and one of the things I forgot to mention earlier, one of the reasons that you choose to do DBS, when you first start on carbidopa levodopa, which is the...
Whoa, that's a big word. Spell that. Say that 5 times fast.
No. When you start on that, one of the treatments they give you, it actually replaces the dopamine that's missing in your system.
Okay.
And so you go from being like this to being like this, a lot less.
Yeah.
But the problem is as each year ticks past, it becomes less and less effective.
Right.
And then you use more and more of the carbidopa levodopa. And when you use more and more of that, you have the tendency to have the problems that are similar to what Michael J. Fox has.
Michael J. Fox.
That's a direct result of using a lot of carbidopa levodopa.
Well, not too long, maybe about 45 minutes before we sat down and started recording this, you had taken your medicine, and you had a pretty rough morning,
Had a rough
night, and so you were shaking a lot with your left arm. You took your pill, and then within 20 minutes,
No, about
30?
an hour and a half.
Oh, it was an hour and a half. Oh, okay. Time flies. We were driving around having fun. You know how the boys do. But they were almost gone.
Yeah.
But you say that it doesn't last as long anymore.
No, it doesn't. That's one of the tests they do. They do some tests to make sure that you're a good candidate for DBS. So they're not going to prescribe it to somebody who's not going to be a good candidate.
Right.
If you have dementia, or you think you're starting to walk down that path which people in their 70s and 80s have,
Sure.
you're not a good candidate for it because it can make that worse.
What? Yeah. Do they have a list? They probably have a list, right?
They do have a
things
list
that you can't.
of things that they need to look at. Is the medicine still working for you? In the sense that, maybe not lasting as long, and you may have to take it more often. But if it's still working for you, then when you put that DBS unit in and turn it on, it should take over the job of the carbidopa levodopa, and now suddenly that becomes the thing that keeps things going. And you never turn it off. You don't need to turn it off.
Yeah.
This battery in here is going to last 15 years.
That's longer than probably what EV batteries are doing right now.
Really, no joke.
Did we talk about recovery time?
From the surgery?
Yeah. Like and also just through the years, I know you mentioned that, people who have had it for 15, 20 years are still just perfectly
They're
fine.
still doing fine.
Yeah.
And You can also get a non-rechargeable battery, but you have to
Okay.
replace it every 4 to 5
Yeah, I was
years.
gonna say 5 years.
I don't want to be opened up every 4 to 5 years to have a new battery put in.
Right, right.
So this one allows me to just, I put a little thing around my neck that holds a puck, a recharging puck.
Oh, really?
It's induction, like charging your iPhone.
Is it scented and can you warm it in the microwave?
Both.
Oh, nice. So it's like therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're charging yourself.
Anyway, this is a lot of information to throw at y'all. I hope I haven't bored you to death.
Oh, no.
I just want to let you know why my content is on the down low, what I'm doing about it with helping, having my family help me do things that I used to be able to do by myself. And then taking the step forward with this surgery.
Yeah.
And doing the medical things I need to do. And then as soon as I get that all set, get back in the gym, start working my butt off. Because that's the next big thing I can do.
Quality of life. And for those who also out there, you know, who maybe are, you know, passionate about video games and, you know, want to hit us up, or anybody out there that have questions, you can contact us, you know, here at Gamer Like Dad, you know, on YouTube, or also Elder Geek Gamer.
You can do eldergeekgamer@gmail.com if you just want to.
Yeah, just do Gmail
me.
Yeah. Mine is a Gamer Like Dad. It's in the description of the videos and on the channel as well.
Right.
So you can contact us and with any questions, and also right here on this podcast episode, just, you know, leave us a comment,
Right.
all that stuff. But, you know, we'll be happy to answer those.
I've been meaning to do this video for a while, and I realized I got Chris who will help me do anything I want to do. And so thanks, son, for helping me.
I took the day off today because I was like, this is important. Plus Starfield came out. Well,
yeah, come on, let's get up in the real
it came out.
parties.
Yeah, it came out at 8 o'clock yesterday, you know, for those. And we are early adopters of Starfield, and we are doing unboxings of, you know.
Yeah, we'll have that coming
Let's
up.
talk about a little gaming stuff right here at the end. I know we're right at 31 minutes, but we have a lot of, we're openings are we doing? We're doing the collector's edition.
Constellation edition.
Constellation. Sorry, wrong word.
And then
for
we've
Starfield.
got the new Spider-Man 2 controller. For PS5.
Yep. That's exciting.
But
yeah, we each have a Constellation edition. Very spoiled. Only child right here. Just letting you guys know.
Yeah, I still buy something and I'll buy a copy for Chris.
What's funny is I'll even say, Dad will call me. He's like, did you happen to pick up, you know, so-and-so item? And I'm like, oh, no, I completely forgot it was coming out today. And he's like, oh, that's why I ordered two. Every time. Dad's got my back for sure.
Yeah.
But thanks for doing the interview, Dad.
Well,
did you have anything else you wanted to add, or?
You know, I'm sure I've forgotten several things, but that's why you can just reach out to me and say how you doing, or I have a question.
Yep.
Again, if you know of anybody in your family, a loved one who has Parkinson's disease, and if they're sitting at home doing nothing, please find a loving way to get over there and kick them in the butt and get them to the gym, get them working out, and get them the solutions they need to make their quality of life better. For those who are on Medicare, this is an expensive procedure. It's in the $30,000 range.
Okay, I didn't ask that. Yeah, what's the price of this
and
procedure?
Medicare covers it.
Oh, wow. Fully?
Yeah.
Wow. Not even a percent. Yeah. Well, I mean,
it was approved probably like 5 years ago or so.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's, you know, not everybody's fortunate to have Medicare. I do.
Right.
So it's very helpful. So anyway, thanks for watching today.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
I hope you learned something today, and again, help you understand kind of my situation a little bit more and why the content is not as much as I want to be, but
no apologies.
I may never get back to where I was, but I tell you, the people that have signed up to my channel, and I'm still under 1,000 subs. But let me tell you, the 580 some odd people that I have that are sub to my channel.
I think you have 6 something now, actually.
I maybe do.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
I've got some great
Yeah,
people.
go subscribe to Elder Geek Gamer. He does some great opening content, some great comparisons of some things. It's how I became a collector. Again, this is what we talk about on the podcast. We talk about buying things, we talk about playing things, and you know, that's
and as
the
James
gist.
Bond would say, there's only one way to make his martini. Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not nice. Is that your go-to phrase for that? Okay, and on that note, guys, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next video.